Hello and welcome to another episode of the DTF Podcast. That is the Dawson, T.O. and Phantom Podcast. It is Monday, November 21st, 11:43 in the AM, and we are finally connecting. We didn't have a chance to all get together and sit on a Zoom last week, in large part because we were all traveling all over the place. I was in Indy and then in Austin. Fanta, you joined me in Indianapolis for the Champions Classic, and T.O., you joined me in Austin for the Texas Gonzaga game. We have a lot to talk about. What happened hoops wise last week, but before we kind of get into all that, just, what was your favorite part? I mean, we got on the road, we got to see some games in person, we got to see some top 5 matchups, some top 10 matchups. Fanta, what was your favorite part about the last week of hoops?
Being at the Tap in Indianapolis, we had this amazing setup overlooking the bar. I want to thank the Tap for having us. It was so much fun to look out right around 5:30 Eastern time, about 90 minutes before the Champions Classic tipped off, to see a full bar of college hoops fans. It just signified that college basketball is in fact back, that this part of the year is so much fun. It means a lot more than the casual fan even knows. And guys, the Champions Classic delivered the goods. It wasn't the best 2 games ever played. The quality of play wasn't necessarily great. Both Kentucky and Michigan State, then for that matter, Duke and Kansas, struggled from beyond the 3-point arc. But guys, to see a double overtime game that just didn't want to end, and to see Tom Izzo rise up and remind us why he's still one of the best coaches in the country, that was my favorite part of this past week.
T.O.?
Seeing the Moody Center had to be up there for me. I've seen a lot of new stadiums. That place is truly unique, and to see what Chris Beard does on a day-to-day basis and even a night-to-night basis, because my man, he is taking care of the boosters after the game. He's taking care of the university before the game. As impressive as the win was, to be able to see how Chris Beard really manages a program. He's truly a CEO. We've talked about Nick Saban being the CEO, Calipari being a CEO. Chris Beard, give it 2 years, I feel like Texas is going to be up there every season. Like how he treated the boosters, how he treated his players. He has those guys playing hard, and after a few recruiting cycles, and he's able to figure things out. Like, it's not just the players, it's everything that goes on around it. And I've said this before, but Texas, they feel like they could fix things by throwing $1 billion at it. And I'm not sure that's the case. Like, Chris Beard has it figured out, like how to build a program and get the fan engagement and everything like that. So there's issues there as far as attendance is concerned, but like, it was full that night. And to be able to get guys in there continuously, like, I feel like that's on its way to Texas being an absolute madhouse and a seasonal contender for a national championship.
Yeah, the one thing that Beard knows how to do is to invite that fan engagement and to get people to care about the program that he's building, right? He has this ability to connect with people on a level that goes beyond, like, he's the head basketball coach. Like, it feels like he's your friend, right? When we were down there, he sent us to a restaurant. He was basically like, go here, these guys are going to take care of you. And we walked in, and the guy was like, hey, you're Beard's friends, right? He didn't call him coach. He didn't call him whatever. He's like, yeah, you're Beard's friends, right? So he has a way to kind of get the community behind the program. And one thing I think that we know about these kind of big state schools is, even if they're a football school, if you get the basketball program going and make it so that going to basketball games is fun and an event, like those fans will show up. Like, look at Auburn. Auburn was never a place that was had a crazy environment. And
right.
We have CJ Frederick that does a podcast for us. And he basically said the craziest environment that they played at last year was when they went to Auburn. Right. We've seen it with Arkansas as something that's similar. Texas Tech, right? When Chris Beard was there, when that was never a home court advantage. And then all of a sudden you get there, you start winning a little bit, and the place becomes a madhouse, and it might be the most difficult place to play in the Big 12. And that's with
environments sell. Yeah, environments sell. Like that arena, if it sits 20,000 people, but for basketball games, they're only going to see 10. What was it? 10-6.
It was, so it's 10,763, which is the official attendance. But there's some things that they've done that's really cool with it. One, they have a standing room only section for the students above one end of the court. And the other thing that they've done, they spent $4 million on these like projection screen sound barriers that come down and go over the upper bowl of seats. And so like you can get highlights played on there. You can get they have like all of these logos. It looks really cool, and it kind of tells you about Texas and the amount of money they had. That just like, we're gonna throw $4 million at this, whatever. I also think it's really smart for them. They could have sold out that building on the opening night against Gonzaga if they wanted to. But what Beard is basically doing is he's making it so that it's a hot ticket, right? Just think about simple economics, supply and demand. If you know it's going to be a crazy environment, if you know people are going to see it and be like, wow, that looks like an awesome experience, and there's only a certain number of tickets that you can buy, then you're going to be able to get more people interested and more people wanting to go. And that creates a little bit of buzz about it. It makes it be something where it's the cool thing to do when you're in Austin. It's the new thing to do when you're in Austin. And it creates, I do think it's important with college basketball. If you want to build make your home court a fortress, to be able to have like that intimate environment where everybody is on top of you and screaming at you, and it's so damn loud in there. It was, I think he's going to get that thing going. I wasn't sure heading into the season, but after seeing it in person, I feel very good about the fact that he's going to be able to get it going.
Absolutely. And he's a Texas alum. He wears it on his sleeve. He's the perfect fit for Texas basketball. There's no better fit. And it's why Chris left Texas Tech, as hard as that was, and went to Texas. What I'm curious to see is, and I believe you, Terrence, what you said about this facility, Beard, the talent they can get, the resources they can pour in. It's all there. And now they have the right leader. Like, you could have great resources, assets, and brand, but you might not have a guy who can keep your program humble, working hard, grounded, in the right frame of mind that just goes beyond throwing money at stuff. In college basketball in 2022, being a CEO is not enough. Just look at Lexington. Right. Which we'll get to. For me, guys, I'm curious to see if Texas takes off like a rocket and can be a national title contender. We talk about these incoming schools to the Big 12 and what Houston's going to add, what BYU's going to add, what Cincinnati's going to add, UCF. What happens to the SEC, which has already been climbing and climbing and climbing? The SEC looks really, really good. What happens if Texas is on a level that we think of with Elite Eight, Final Four? Arkansas is making the Elite Eight a norm. They've done it back-to-back years. Kentucky's going to be Kentucky. Auburn, Bruce Pearl's done an amazing job there. Add Chris Beard into the Southeastern Conference to come. And that, to me, adds a whole different edge potentially in the Southeastern Conference, a conference that I already like the trajectory of quite a bit.
This is going to be a wild statement, but I have a feeling the way it's going to go, like I'm projecting Texas, Kentucky to be like the game. Like that is going to be the game in the SEC moving forward. Wow. Like think about those two mega states and the way Chris Beard has it going.
Can I throw
they're going to recruit the same kids because Kentucky's already dipping into Texas. They got Kason Wallace. Like they dip into Texas. Damian Collins, he's also a Texas kid. Like they're going to be recruiting the same kids. They're going to be going at it every game. Rob pretty much took the words out of my mouth when it comes to like the way Texas is making it an intimate atmosphere. And I never understood these big cavernous arenas. Like, okay, fine, you seat 25,000 people, but if there's only 13 in there, it feels empty. So now you have 10 people packed in on top of each other, and it is an atmosphere. And that's what kids see. They don't see that, like, kids see the immediate. Kids see right in front of you. They don't care that they fit 30,000 people. They care that their people are there, and it's loud, and it's fun. And I'm telling you, I think Texas is going to be Texas, Kentucky at the top of the SEC for years to come. And obviously Arkansas is going to have their moments, and Auburn's going to have their moments, and Tennessee is going to have their moments, and Florida will be Florida. But I feel like those two, that as Chris gets it going, like Texas, Kentucky is going to be so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be just those two, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Texas, Arkansas would be so much fun.
Yeah, Arkansas is gonna, as long as Muss stays there, and I mean he can kind of bounce around.
But it doesn't generate the juice. National, like Arkansas, as good as they are, they don't generate the juice, or else
I think they do,
Oh.
and they will once they
be
featured
featured
a little
more.
bit better. But since when it's Texas basketball, how are they going to generate the juice? Like I do
Chris
think
Beard,
that,
Chris Beard. That's how they're
sure,
going to generate.
sure,
Well,
but
Eric
like
Musselman.
Bruce, yeah,
Eric
but
Musselman.
Eric Musselman's he's got probably more of a presence than Beard does on some
SEC network in basketball season might as well be the Kentucky network. Texas has their own network. Like you're going to have serious. I mean, there's going to be major play for that game.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, and you're right. That's going to be an awesome. Hopefully, that'll end up being a great rivalry moving forward. But like, let's not act like Auburn hasn't been to a recent Final Four and won 2 SEC titles in the last 5 years. You know,
Auburn would trade Auburn.
They don't still has it going for and sure, and so
they would
Texas.
trade everything for a good football team.
You don't think Texas would too? Texas absolutely.
I just
would.
feel
they would sell Chris Beard into indentured servitude to make their football team be the number 1 team in the country. Like that is a certified fact. Like that, it's going to be fun to go to basketball games, but they would sell all of that in a second at a cut rate price to be able to get football good again. Same with all the SEC.
But how many? But here's
the crazy part. Here's
how
the
many
craziest
people
thing,
are
Tio, hold on.
waiting in line for hours to be like, I can't wait. Besides the students. But like, how many people are waiting? But I can't wait to see Auburn basketball. Think about how many people are like, man,
a lot. They camp out
but it's Auburn. It's not even the State School of Alabama.
Yeah, but they camp out overnight.
But
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Doster. Let me finish. So like, if Texas has that whole state of Texas is massive. Texas, like for them to be able to get it where it's going to go. Like, and it'd be the fit like that massive state, and then Kentucky with all their tradition, like it is going to be something different. Like people don't just turn on the TV and like look for an Auburn basketball game. And I'm talking about the general fan. People know who Texas is. People know who Kentucky is. Like the basic fan base, like the basic. I don't have an allegiance. I went to Morehead State or something like that. I'm going to watch Kentucky. I go to Tarleton State. I'm going to watch Texas. Like if you go to I don't know what name me a Division II, Alabama Huntsville, we're really going to focus in on Auburn. It's not the same. That's all I'm saying. Like I like the Texas Kentucky thing. Like those are the 2 massive bases that extend beyond just their school.
Hold on a second now. The problem is that Texas still probably isn't even the best program in their own state.
You're probably right. Right now, you're probably right.
They're not. They're not even top 2, bro. They're not even top 2.
Houston's the best team in the country, and I still like Baylor.
And Baylor's been number 1 in the country in each of the last 3 seasons. They won a national title. Tio's coming with the hot takes. I love it, man. It's spicy. He gets to the bottom.
It's hard, but it's hardly just from a pure following standpoint.
No, I get what you're saying. Trust me, I get what you're saying. But in the SEC, where Tennessee is always going to be in the mix when they have Rick Barnes, where Auburn, where Bruce has that thing going right now, right? Where Alabama under Nate Oates is always going to be at least relevant enough. The teams that I feel bad. Like,
you won't say Kentucky. You won't say Kentucky because you got takes on Kentucky. You're not bringing up Kentucky.
No. Like I'm just saying, like it's not going to be just those 2. Kentucky, they'll be good. Anyway, listen, we have some overreactions that we have to get to, and I think starting. we have some overreactions. I want to start Gonzaga, Kentucky, because here's my biggest take is I don't think Kentucky's very good this year. Like after watching them play 2 times against really good opponents, I think they are kind of like in that top 20-ish range, right? Top 15, top 20 to me. I think that there are some severe limitations. I think that it is not a roster that is ideally put together. And if they go more than 7 deep moving forward in SEC play, like I just don't know how you do that with this team. Fancy, you look shocked.
This is the exact opposite of what you said in the preseason.
Yes, I know. And now that I'm watching it, and it's like, this is not working. It doesn't work.
Right.
So they have the best player in the country. And if he's not the best, he's top 2 or 3.
Most productive.
See, that's where I would push back, right? Because they are building around a guy who is not a go-to scorer. Oscar Sheba does all the little things well. He is a complementary piece. He is a role player at heart. I don't think that he is a guy that you want to build an offense around, right? Let's do the comparison with Drew Timme, right? When you run offense for Gonzaga, everything they do is built around, okay, let's try to get Timme isolated on the block 10 feet away from the basket and let him go draw a double team or make a pass. Let's try to find a way to get Timme running downhill, going up against a big guy where he can kind of do that little step through around him and lay it in. Oscar got 2 fouls doing that last night, right? That's about, okay, let's put Drew Timme in a position where he can handle the ball, bring it up, and pull big guys away from the basket. He's super skilled. He's a guy you can run an offense through. Oscar's not a guy you can run an offense through.
Well, I would say, but I would say that Gonzaga beat Kentucky because Julian Strother and Rasir Bolden.
Oh, no, I agree. But what I'm saying is that Kentucky doesn't have those other options, right? Their best offense right now is like a missed shot, let Oscar go get it. That's a problem.
So here's the deal. Here's the deal. The talent level and the coaching are not matching each other. Because I do think they have enough. I do think they have enough to be a great team. And they've been outcoached in back-to-back games. Tom Izzo put John Calipari in a body bag in Indianapolis. He outcoached him. He ran circles around him. And on Sunday night, Oscar Tshiebwe said after the game that John Calipari calls out plays, and the problem lately is we don't run them. What on earth is that response?
That happened. We saw that happen with Jacob Toppin. I forget what possession it was, but it was at the end of the Michigan State game, and he called up something on the sidelines out of bounds, and it was supposed to be for Toppin sitting the screen for, I think it was for CJ Frederick, and Toppin just didn't run the play. And I was sitting close enough that I could see CJ Frederick going, "What are you doing? That play was for me." And Toppin was just like, whatever. And then you see him immediately get yanked out. And here's the problem. They put in Damian Collins.
Toppin or CJ?
Toppin got yanked immediately. Yeah. Got yanked immediately. And the problem is they bring in Damian Collins, and then Damian Collins fucks something up on the offensive end. Like he's not ready for this level of basketball yet. So that's my
in the losses to Michigan State and Gonzaga, Kentucky shot 13 for 50 from beyond the arc. At times, those were open looks. At other times, they were not high percentage shots. Their half-court offense is stuck in 1999. It's not a good half-court offense. They don't challenge a defense. They try to beat you on talent and talent alone. They've got talent. But that is a group that, to me, has not been coached up well. And I know that I'm being critical, but facts are facts, guys. When you look at what they have, like for CJ Frederick and Antonio Reeves to go 3 for 13 from beyond the arc, that's 10 misses. In Spokane, you're not going to win there. You're not going to win there doing that. They missed as many shots, if not more, against Michigan State. Severe Wheeler's inability to shoot the ball hurts this team. It hurts this team. He doesn't shoot the basketball well, and it has hurt this team because they don't have a point guard who can make shots. They've got weapons, though, but right now, in my opinion, there's a disconnect, and that's bad, but it's not shocking. There's a reason why this program didn't make the NCAA tournament 2 years ago. There's a reason why they lost in the first round to St. Peter's last year, and there's a reason why they've lost games to Michigan State and Gonzaga, and that is this. It's not necessarily that everyone's caught up to John Calipari, because in recruiting, he's going to be first. It's that he's fallen back because you can't just get it off talent alone. You got to have on-court execution. And you can't tell me Kentucky's on-court execution with their personnel is good right now. You cannot tell me that.
T.O.?
If you look at their roster, they have a lot of really good college players. But college players that have thrived at previous spots within a system. You look at Severe Wheeler. Whenever he was at Georgia, they set a lot of things up for him, and he's still doing what he does. What is he averaging? 9 assists a game? The two things, there's been one of two things that Calipari has had when his really good teams are really good. The explosive guard play, like so fast people can't keep them in front. The other thing they've had is a dominant shot blocking big man to where they can get out and push. Sheeb's a lot of things, a lot of great things at the college level. He's not a huge rim protector. And it's not his fault. He's 6'9". He jumps pretty well, not great, but he's an effort guy. Severe Wheeler isn't going to change a game or flip it on its head and get wherever he wants, whenever he wants. Like John Wall could do that. Derrick Rose could do that. The Harrison twins were pretty good, but they had, who was it? Karl Anthony Towns or Anthony Davis behind them? Like his great teams had either a great 1 or a great 5. I'm not sure they have either one this year. And I love Sheep. I want this to be taken the right way because I think he's a great college player. And he's not just a good, like he's a great, one of the all-time greats, especially from a stat perspective. But for what he is needed, and when I say he, Calipari is needed, you need somebody who's going to erase stuff at the rim, erase it. Sheep's not that. So that's kind of where I'm at. Like you have to coach some of these guys up. And then not only that, like he's getting 4 or 5 draft picks in the first round a year, some of those things.
And T.O. just froze. So I'll make this point about Kentucky. I think T.O. is actually in the Bahamas, by the way. So that's why his internet is not the greatest at the moment. But my biggest issue is that Coach Cal does not create easy shots for the players on his team, right? He doesn't create. He doesn't. Bill, the best comparison I can make here is Bill Self, right? We saw him turn David McCormick into a threat offensively because all you have to do is run a set, you get a seal, ball swings all the sides, McCormick catches it, turns around, and lays it in. And you never see that for Shibwe. The only time he can catch and lay it in is when he goes and does the work on the offensive glass. They don't get easy shots. And to me, that is the biggest issue that you're going to find with this group is that they don't create easy shots. Cal does not create easy shots for them. And that is a problem when you don't have guys that are going to go out and do that on their own. When you don't have a Drew Timme, when you don't have one of the superstar point guards, when you don't have someone kind of that ilk. So I think to me, that kind of is why I look at Kentucky now and I'm like, yeah, I think they have a little bit more of a ceiling than maybe I expected coming into the season. Real quick, let's just talk a little bit about the Gonzaga side of this, Fanta. Where do you stand on them now? Because if you kind of look at this big picture, right? They won an ugly game against a Michigan State team on a boat when their shooters weren't effective against a team that I think we can now agree is probably better than what we thought they were heading into the season in Michigan State. Yeah. And then they went into Texas and they got smacked around a little bit, but it looks like that is a really good Texas team in one of the craziest environments that I've been in college basketball. So where do you view Gonzaga big picture right now?
I think they're still a Final Four caliber team that had a showing against Texas on Wednesday night in which Texas hit 13 threes and Tyrese Hunter was otherworldly. Nobody was beating Texas at the Moody Center on Wednesday. You were inside the building, so you know that better than me. That's a good experience for Gonzaga. It's a good experience for Drew Timme and Gonzaga because as long as Drew Timme's been there, the Zags are 93-8. They don't lose much. Rob, sometimes you got to lose a game. And that loss to me is a good thing for them going forward. And I look at them, I just think with them, it's going to take some more time for their backcourt to become solidified as T.O. joins us again.
Sorry, guys.
I just look at it. That's all right. We're just talking about Gonzaga. I think with them, the ability of Rasir Bolden in this win over Kentucky was really impressive, and it was needed. It was needed. Gonzaga has to answer the question, and I don't think Nolan Hickman's going to be the firm answer to that question at all. They have got to be able to handle the basketball well, make things happen in their backcourt, and if they get that – because the thing is, we take it for granted with Gonzaga. Guys, they went from Jalen Suggs to Andrew Nembhard running the show. They've had incredible backcourt play. That had a little bit more of a question mark, but for me, I thought Rasir Bolden was as good as anybody on the floor on Sunday night. And I think Julian Strawther is on a trajectory to hear his name called in Brooklyn next June. He's long, he makes plays, he's disruptive defensively. And guys, he's elevating his offensive skill set. Here's what I like about Gonzaga. I like the fact that there's an undetermined ceiling with them. I think they can keep getting better. I think they benefit from getting the doors blown off them at Texas. I'm not ready to say that they're not good enough, to make a Final Four. I just told you, Rob, I think they're Final Four caliber as they keep getting better and better. To me, there's actually some good in having questions to answer because I think Mark Few is one of the best coaches in the sport, And I think Rasir Bolden's only getting started in what will be a major, major season for him.
Mm-hmm. My concern, and I said this last night on our little playback thing, T.O., is I don't know if I trust the point guard play. And I don't know. Nolan Hickman hasn't shown it yet to be the level that we thought he was going to be this season. He hasn't shown that kind of breakout star potential. Malachi Smith is playing 11 minutes a game. Hunter Salas has not been that dude yet. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. But I think that once you're getting that kind of shooting from Strother and you're getting that kind of shooting from Bolton and those guys are making threes and kind of spacing out the floor, that will be enough for them to be in the mix. And in a year like this, where it doesn't look like there is a team that's head and shoulders above everybody else, it might be, maybe Houston is, but that's kind of where I'm at with that. I'm worried about the point guard play. What about you?
I thought it was telling that they let Timmy bring the ball up the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a big part of it. Now, you can run a lot of interesting things with your 5-man running the point guard. I mean, look at what Texas did with Timmy Allen last year. But at the same time, that said a lot about Few's faith in some of those lead guards. Hunter Salas is fine. That's not what we're used to saying about Gonzaga guards, right? We're not used to saying just fine. They are going to figure it out. They still have length around the perimeter. I didn't realize how big Strother was until I saw him in person. That's a big dude. Mm-hmm. And he has a lot of talent. So I'm not ready to put a cap on what they can do. Any team with Drew Timme, like, he just takes – it's such a cumulative effect whenever you play against him. And I'm not willing to say this because I feel like there was a couple technical fouls in that Gonzaga-Texas game that was like – it really killed their momentum. In college basketball, momentum is such a crucial thing. Anytime they started to make a mini run, boom, technical, flopping technical. Something happened. So, like, I'm not sure if Texas and Gonzaga play on a neutral site that game's not a lot closer. But at the same time, like, there are some questions. But I'll be honest, guys, like, I like some of the things that I saw out of Nolan Hickman. Like, is he this dynamic playmaker? No. But, man, he can do some really nice things, especially when he's looking for his own shot. But that being said, I mean, they typically have a setup guy that's high level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he still has room that he can kind of get better. So it's
right.
That's where you're going to see the development come from if those guys can hit a ceiling. If those guys hit a ceiling, then the conversation that we would have about Gonzaga is going to change. Like, if Hickman ends up living up to the potential that he has, then Gonzaga is a top 5 team in college basketball. Strother's going to play like this, and if Bolton's going to shoot the way that he shot. Let me remind you guys really quick, just some promo stuff. The Field of 68 Daily, that is linked in the description below, whether you're watching this on YouTube or you are listening to it in your podcast feeds. Best place for you to get updates every single day on everything that has happened in college basketball. It's run by Mike Miller, my former boss at NBC. It is free $99. You can read the thing that every single Division I coach and every single Division I administrator is reading every morning when they wake up. And Fanta's reading it too. Are you raising your hand? Do you have something to say?
Yes, my hand is raised from the back corner of the classroom. Guys, on Monday, November 21st, 2022, the AP Top 25 poll has dropped. There are 6 Big Ten teams in the top 25 in the
country. Here we go again.
The fourth highest team of the Big Ten teams is number 23, Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
Maryland.
Here we go again.
Who just won the Hall of Fame tip-off. I ask you, are you buying the stock that I was buying in the preseason when I said multiple Big Ten teams to the Sweet 16 this year?
Nope.
I kind of am. And look, I know this is going exactly the way that T.O. predicted this in the preseason, right?
I called this shit. I called it. Just say SOS. Same old shit. Are we going to fall in love with the Big Ten? Are we going to fall? And we're hook, line, and sinker. They got us again.
Here's the reason why I'm bullish on them. There's 2 reasons why.
Yeah.
The teams that have surprised us, I would classify Michigan State in that mix.
Okay. All right. So hold on. All right. So I want you to. So you say that team that you like, and then I'm going to respond to each team, and I'm going to. All right. So Michigan State. Go ahead.
So the 3 teams that have really surprised me are Michigan State.
Okay, so
Maryland. Hold on, Maryland and Illinois. And the reasons why I am now kind of trending towards buying the Big Ten is that those are not teams with big lumbering five men. If you look at what Michigan State is doing, they can play Madi Sissoko at the 5, but their lineups against Villanova that were the most effective were the ones that had Malik Hall at the 5, Joey Hauser at the 4, and 2-point guards and AJ Gohard and Tyson Walker. I think that with Maryland, they're just so long and athletic and versatile, and Dante Scott's been a stud. I want to see a little bit more. Like we don't know if Miami's really all that good or if St. Louis is really all that good, but I think they are. So I want to see more, but I'm buying that. And then Illinois, they can, if you want to play small, they can play Coleman Hawkins at the 5. They got a couple good guards. The Epps kid came off the bench and was really good last night. But if you got to play big, you still got Dane Danger. Welcome to the danger zone. And it makes them a little bit matchup independent. So that's why I'm kind of buying them. Is my issue with the Big Ten was always like, what happens when you actually play basketball that is not stuck in 1985, where you don't have a 7'1", 380-pound 5-man out there lumbering up and down the court. And the 3 teams that I just mentioned, I think, have guys that can play a style that is different than what you would normally expect from a Big Ten team. Does that make sense?
I'll give you Illinois. Maryland's still up in the air. Not willing to completely buy in on that one too, because Miami's up and down. And then Michigan State's the same thing that we say about the Big Ten. They just have dudes that have been in the system for a long time. They're a finished product right now. Right now. It's the same old stuff, guys. And we're going to fall for it. It's the same thing. Izzo's had those guards are back. Are back. They have Joey Hauser, who he's been Joey Hauser. He's been a good version of Joey Hauser lately. And it's just a bunch of guys that have been in the system for a long time. The upside's not where it is. It's the same thing as last, exact same carbon copy, Fanta. Carbon copy of last year.
Well, but here's the thing. You got to have depth, and you got to be able to win these games this time of year. I'm not saying that ends up being great for you come March. The two things don't equate. We see plenty of teams win games this time of year. We also see plenty of teams take advantage of their multi-team event that end up bottling up a really special 3 days, but that's not who they are over the next 3 months. It's not who they really are. Sometimes teams play just at a different level over a couple of days this time of year. Then teams figure them out. They watch film, coaches adapt, their leagues adapt. That's how it is. Having said this was supposed to be a down year in the Big Ten. And the Big Ten has proved a lot of people wrong right on the hopper, because when we say down year, we're talking about down year in terms of how many teams you're going to get in the NCAA tournament. And for the Big Ten right now, they got to feel good about their balance. And here's the thing, guys, non-conference play doesn't go as long as people think it does. This week is huge. It's huge with all the MTEs going on that we're going to talk about. But December, guys, for a good 10 days in December, there's a bit of a lull in the sport because these schools are taking finals. There's not as many big games in the middle of December. And guess what? The Big Ten starts conference play the first week of December.
Yeah, so does ACC.
Yeah, so does the ACC. So the Big Ten has built up some really, really good rapport. And I do think, guys, that Illinois is a dangerous team.
Yeah, I agree.
Michigan State, just because they might have a cap on what they can be, doesn't mean that I want to see them on my bracket come March. And here's the thing. We don't think about Maryland, Penn State, or Rutgers when we're talking about the Big Ten enough. But Penn State's got Jalen Pickett. They are 5-1. They're not bad. I watched them play a couple times last week. I was surprised at how they played. Maryland.
It's almost like when you hire Micah Shrewsbury, your team's going to get better.
Yeah, exactly. Dante Scott. It's almost like when you hire Kevin Willard, your team's going to get better. Dante Scott's playing the best basketball of his career. He's playing Julian Reese is big time. Hakeem Hart. They got better in the portal with Jameer Young and Don Carey. And they play tough. They're playing together. Willard's building culture there down in College Park. And Rutgers, as much as they've struggled on the gates, been a little banged up. Like, the thing is, Michigan is not ranked. They're going to be a good team. I want to see what Ohio State is this week. But Indiana, guys, for all the flack we give Indiana, they beat a good Xavier team in Cincinnati on Friday night, and Trace Jackson Davis manned up and had 30 points. Like TJD has it on his mind to lift Indiana to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament, and I'm buying stock in that. I am. Down year, no down year here. There's no down year. They're going to get 8 or 9 units.
And they're all going to get beat in the first round.
Well, I don't think they're going to get beat.
Same old shit. Same old shit. They're all old dudes.
All of them are going to get beat.
Not all of them. If they get 8, 6 of them will get beat.
Well, T.O.,
it's not a good league.
T.O.,
like when you in tournament time, it's not a good league. It's been proven and proven and proven.
T.O. is the anti-Big Ten guy.
Well, well, another thing is too, like Maryland beat Miami. Miami's got 2 transfers in the starting lineup. They're still learning to play together.
Like Maryland's got a new head coach. Maryland's got a new head coach. They're still learning how to play under Willard.
Yeah, but the first 3 people that Fanta mentioned, those are returners. That should have been that Maryland team last year.
I don't know. I wouldn't discredit
it's a new coach. Well, all I'll say is this. I actually tend to agree that I don't know if there's a national title contender in there. Right?
Same old shit. Same things last year.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if there's I'm not off the take that there's like not a top 15 team in the Big Ten. Illinois, maybe they have a super high ceiling, but like they won a game where Terrence Shannon went absolutely supernova. He's never going to do that again, right? We're never going to see 8 for 9 from 3 from Terrence Shannon again. That might end up being the greatest performance that he has in his entire life. And he could spend the rest of the year doing what he did last night. That would not surprise me at all. So I don't know if there's a Final Four team in the Big Ten, but I do think that the league is deeper and better than I expected because teams like Michigan State, like Maryland, are better than what I thought they were going to be coming into the season. And one thing I will say about Michigan State, like I hear you, T.O. I really agree with you that like they are a finished product now. But guard play matters so much when you get to the tournament. And how many backcourts are better right now? And how many backcourts have a higher ceiling than playing AJ Gohard and Tyson Walker together? Like there's probably not 10.
A lot.
Is there more than 10 that you would trust more than those two? Is there more than 10? I don't know if there's more. There's not a lot of great guards out there,
not
man.
Today. Not
there's
today.
A lot of great guards. And like maybe that changes if let's just say like someone like a Kason Wallace explodes or Nolan Hickman figures it out when we get to February. But those dudes are veterans. Tyson Walker's in the second year in the program. I was awesome against Villanova the other night, right? AJ Gohard is
how you feel about Villanova?
Well, let's talk about them because you want to hear something wild? Here's a wild stat for you. You know who the highest ranked team in the Big East on KenPom is?
Who?
You guys know?
Yeah,
do you know?
I know.
You don't know? You don't know?
I've had them 4 out of 5 games to start the season.
Yeah, I know.
UConn.
You are basically.
It's got to be UConn.
You're basically the beat writer, right? No, it's wild to me that if they are, well, one, I don't think they're the best team in the Big East. I think that has a lot to do with the fact that Creighton is currently undervalued on KenPom. But I think that says a lot about the Big East if this UConn team is the best team in that conference. Because I think UConn is like if they get to the second weekend, it's going to be a really good year for them. That's kind of where I'm at with this team. Is that crazy? Do you think they're better than that, Fanta? You're giving me a look.
I think they're really, really good.
I do too. I think they're good.
I mean, I'm telling you right now, this is the best team he's had.
I agree with you there. And he hasn't been out of the first weekend.
They are. Here's the deal. They come at you in waves. Like I'm looking at coaches across the way, albeit mid-majors. But you look at Adama Sanogo and Jordan Hawkins, they'll come out and he'll bring in, because he's still kind of easing his way back, he'll bring in Andre Jackson and Donovan Clingan. And then Tristan Newton will commit a foul and he'll say, I'm going to bring in Hassan Diarra, who helped lead Texas A&M to an NIT championship game. And then it's like, well, I need a 3 or I need something. I'm going to put in Naheem Aline. And then it just goes on and on with them. Alex Caravan has won Big East Freshman of the Week back-to-back weeks to start the season. Alex Caravan is the best freshman in the Big East Conference at this moment. At this moment, he is, because Cam Whitmore has not played. My point is, UConn, here's the thing with Connecticut. Connecticut has been held back by the finesse of the game. They have not shot the ball well from the perimeter. They still haven't even shot the ball well this year from the perimeter. That team, though, guys, is well-rounded. They're physical. They're going to defend. Now they have more shooting. And Hawkins, Rob, the reason why I disagree with you on kind of like I'm with you on the second weekend would be a very good season. I think anybody would agree with you. I think even that coaching staff would agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you, having been around this team and watching them closely, they're going to have a couple of games this year in the Big East. They're going to have a couple. They might have one this week at the Phil Knight. Remember when they beat Auburn last year in double overtime? This team has a star in Jordan Hawkins who at any given moment could hit 3-4 threes in 2 or 3 minutes like that. He gives them the spurt ability. They're dangerous because they have perimeter spurt ability. And when you defend them, and the problem is this, Takeo Siddle, the coach at UNCW, who I think does a nice job, said to me this past week that he tried to simulate in practice what Adama Sanogo does in a game. Look at Sanogo this week at the Phil Knight, everybody. He's going to have sweat dripping down his face 2 minutes into the game. The guy doesn't stop working. Siddle said, I couldn't simulate what he did. My scout team players got tired 5 minutes into trying to do what Sanogo does. They were huffing and puffing. They go, Coach, there's no freaking way that Sanogo does this every possession down. And Siddle looked at them and goes, yeah, he does. And you guys saw North Carolina. He's better than Armando Bacot. That was bold to hear. That was bold. Connecticut is loaded. They're loaded up. And it's not a bad thing in the Big East if they are the best team. It's not.
No. I don't think there's a coach that has more pressure on him than Neptune has here in the next week or two. Like, he needs a good showing.
Oh, yeah.
He needs a good showing. Like, the people are already starting to wonder a little bit.
Yeah, see, I think that's a little bit
hard,
unfair.
man.
I think it's a little bit unfair for 2 reasons. One, he has no point guard on this roster. He was left with a program that has like the point guard options are Angelo Brizzi, who ain't ready, Chris Archidiakono, who ain't good enough, and Mark Armstrong, who's probably a year or 2 away from being able to function there. They haven't had Justin Moore healthy. Nothing you can do about that. And Cam Whitmore's got a broken thumb.
Right.
So
right.
It's
a lot to be said there.
Look, here's the thing.
The Big East. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Quick thing on the Big East. The Big East had a bad week this past week. They had a bad week. They're off to a rough start. I always look at it this way from the Big East and Big Ten side of things. For both those leagues, we'll focus on the Big East for the sake of that we're focusing on them. When you look at these 2 weeks, Gavitt games, feast week. Gavitt games, feast week. You can't have 2 bad weeks. If you have 2 bad weeks, you're killing your resume and you're looking at 4 bits, 3 or 4 bits. Mm-hmm. If you have a good showing, we're talking 5 or 6. That's the difference. That's the difference. Literally, that is the difference. This week comes down to a couple of things, okay? Number 1, the collective performance in the Phil Knight Invitational and Phil Knight Legacy. Villanova has Iowa State on Thursday. It's a must-win game for Villanova. Xavier has Florida. Xavier has Florida for the right to basically play Duke. Big game for Xavier. You can't have 2 missed opportunities because if you're playing Duke on Friday versus playing Oregon State on Friday, that's a big difference. You want to win that game Thursday. You want to win that game over Florida. Mm-hmm. And is Xavier better than Florida? I think they are. I really do.
They should be. They really should be. Florida's been struggling. Florida does not look great this season.
Let's continue. And I'm going to go rapid fire. UConn faces Oregon. UConn's better than Oregon. Show it. If you win that game, on Friday, you're going to play Michigan State or Alabama. And by the way, Black Friday, Tom Izzo versus Dan Hurley in Portland. Are you kidding me? Would be.
We had that last year. We had that. I think it was the battle for. It might have been Thanksgiving Day. We had Dan Hurley, Tom Izzo in Atlantis, which was not good for my old ticker here. Right, I couldn't really handle that. After that Auburn game,
please,
it's a lot.
That game. Okay, so those are the 3 teams involved there. I'm going to trickle down for you a little bit. Marquette's in a Fort Myers tip-off MTE with Mississippi State, big game, Utah, and Georgia Tech. You tell me, Marquette. It's yours to prove. St. John's MTE, Temple, Richmond, and Syracuse. St. John's, you're the best team of those 4 teams. You should win that MTE. Seton Hall. The most underrated game of Feast Week is Penny Hardaway facing Shaheen Holloway Thanksgiving night down in Orlando.
You got to win that one.
Huge game. Yep. huge game. That's the best game of that ESPN Invitational. The winner or loser gets Oklahoma or Nebraska. The winner of that game is going to be set up in prime shop. The point, if the Big East doesn't have a good showing this week, it can only blame itself. The opportunities are there, and it starts with Creighton as we do this podcast against Texas Tech.
Well, and here's the other thing about it is if you have a bad week here, if you're the Big East, after struggling in the Gavitt games, after seeing what the Big Ten did in the Gavitt games, after seeing what the Big Ten looks like they might be in line to do in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, like this week could be the difference between 4 bids.
That's what I said.
6 or 7 bids. Like,
that's what I said.
It's huge. Like, and if you are a Big East fan, like if you're a UConn fan, you should have been rooting for Providence to not go 0-2. If you are a Providence fan, you want Creighton to win the Maui. You want UConn to win the PK85. You want Xavier to go take down Duke. You want those things to happen because it's going to make the conference better as a whole. Real quick, I want to talk about the ACC, mostly because like the bottom of it hasn't been great. Right. And for a lot of reasons, like the Florida State's banged up and Louisville is kind of Louisville, and like Georgia Tech hasn't been great. It's amazing to me that like Boston College has been as bad. I think they've been outscored by 31 points in 5 games this season. And they're probably going to finish like 10th or 11th in the conference. That's how bad the bottom of the league is. But I don't know if there's a conference that has a top 3 that we can look at and feel better about than that ACC top 3. Maybe the Big 12, right? But am I crazy to say that? Because Virginia to me was that was the most eye-opening performance. And I think a lot of it, Tio, had to do with kind of the emotion involved with that team coming from that campus. But what they did in the was it the main event in Vegas? What they did to Baylor, and then what they did to Illinois, stifling them defensively, like that looked like a really, really good basketball team.
Yeah, they were a year away last year. They're here now. And Reese Beekman continues to be really good, doesn't he?
He is
stud, how good
dude.
Is that good?
He is a stud. I did not realize how good of a passer he is. Like he's like a point guard. He ain't.
Yeah, like he is a point guard. That's the part. That's been, in my opinion, that's kind of been the problem. Is that not a problem this year per se, but last year it seemed like, hey man, just give Reese the ball, get it out of Kihei's hands. Because Reese can really make things happen. That dude is so lightning quick with the basketball. It's amazing. No, I mean, if you look at the rest of the ACC, there's a lot of one-loss teams. So I feel like Florida State has positional issues. It's not just, they're injured. They have positional issues, and they don't defend like Florida State's usually defended. Like
so the point that RC keeps making is that they're playing 7 guys now. And like the way that they want to play, if they're going to win, they need to basically play like 10, 11, 12 and just send waves at you, right?
Yep.
Do you agree with that?
I agree with it 100%. And not only that, like if a guy's not defending, you can't just yank him because you only have 7 guys. Like you got to live with his ineptitude defensively, which there's one guy that transferred from Central Florida.
You know a lot about coaches having to live with ineptitude defensively.
Yep, I do know that. But the thing is Florida State doesn't function that way. And what's happened, there's one guy from Central Florida who's not guarding very much. And it's really the other teams are singling him out. So what's happening is he's getting beat so bad that the help side's not coming over because they're not used to coming over so far. So like they have positional issues. Outside of that, Louisville's just going to be bad. Florida State's just going to be bad. Pittsburgh's just going to be bad. So those 3 teams right there are miserable. Outside of that,
about the good. I want to talk about the good. Let's talk about the good. Let's talk about how good.
I'm trying, but there's 15.
We don't need to dog the ACC, man.
But there's 15. There's 15 teams in the conference, so it's like there's a lot of love to be had for the other 12. Like so, Duke's going to be. Yeah, I'm still riding.
Syracuse is a top 7 seed in the ACC. Prove me wrong. That's where we're at right now.
No, they'll be in that 11, 12 range because they're so young, playing so many young bodies. And if it looks like I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking down at my iPad with all the stuff. I'm not completely out. NC State being 4-0, I know they haven't played a ton. There's a lot to prove down here at Battle for Atlantis if they're going to be good enough. Mm-hmm. Like they play Kansas first round, and there's still opportunities. No, well, maybe not. But at the same time, like, is Bill back? Is he back now?
Oh, he's back, baby.
Is he
Joe
back? He's
Self
back.
is back this week, and he's wearing
Joe
his
Self.
sunglasses into Atlantis.
There you go. No, but I'm not willing to sell on a lot of these teams. Georgia Tech, I'll sell. Like it's not great. It's not great. But I still feel like it's the first 6 or 7 teams in the ACC. There's a drop off, and then it's the next 6, and then those last 3. It's just going to be brutal. I feel bad for Louisville because that's going to be a miserable year. I don't see how they win.
Problem is the bottom is so bad.
Yes. And another problem is too is now that Florida State's 0-4. Florida State's 0-4. And what's going to happen in January is a lot of those guys are going to get healthy, and then they're going to beat some teams in that middle range, and it's going to be like, shit, that's a bad loss because they're bad now. That's what's going to happen. It's going to stink.
I want this game this week, okay, at the Phil Knight. Duke Gonzaga could meet in the final on Sunday if you look at the bracket. Duke and Gonzaga could end up meeting here in the Phil Knight in the championship game. I want that game. I want it bad. I think that if you look at Duke, they should be encouraged, right, Rob? They should be encouraged by the way they played against Kansas. They should have won that game. In all honesty, I thought that they were in a position to win that game, but I thought that was going to be a blowout, and it was not. And I got to tell you guys, I don't think I've been more surprised by any freshman more than I have been by Kyle Filipowski, who's averaging about 18 and 11 per game out of the shoot.
Good, man.
He's been great. He's been great. Their size, they realized against Kansas just how dangerous it is to have Filipowski and Lively, even though Lively's still trying to figure it out. Like, to me, once Tariq Whitehead gets going, Duke has a chance to be really, really special.
Yeah, I think to me the key is kind of finding a way to get Tyrese Proctor to be like a knockdown shooter.
Okay.
Right? Because I think that you can go with the 2 big lineup, right? But I think that kind of limits you a little bit because we haven't really seen Filipowski. Those guys both came in with a reputation of being guys that could make shots, and they haven't really shot the ball great. They haven't really been that threat yet this year. And Mark Mitchell's not a guy that like you're going to sit there and say, yeah, he's a force baser. Same with Tariq Whitehead. Like those dudes are good for a couple of reasons, but a lot of it has to do with their versatility and toughness and things of that nature. So when those guys are at the 3 and the 4, I can see how that works. When you have Filipowski and Lively out there together, I can see how that works. But it all kind of depends on like having one more person out there that is going to have the gravity to pull defenses in certain directions. And to me, like Proctor kind of has to be that dude. And he also, I think he needs to be someone that defenses acknowledges like, okay, we have to not just run this guy off the line, but like we have to respect him as a scorer too. You know, I think what I was really impressed about in the second half of that game against Kansas was that Shire found a way to he figured out the mismatch that he wanted to attack. And every time that Grady Dick was guarding somebody, he went right at Grady Dick. And I think that's when things kind of changed because it pulled Grady Dick off the floor. All of a sudden, you didn't have a shooter out there for Kansas, and that's when Duke made their run in the second half. So I think Proctor is a guy that you need to be a weapon. But I'm much more bullish on Duke now than I was at the start of the season. I thought that they were going to get beat up a little bit at the start of the year, and I mean they're tough, man. What Shire said about playing being a defensive minded team, like that's what they are. And yeah. I think they're going to be good. So let me ask you guys this. I'm going to put you on the spot. You have to bet all of your money, all your life savings right now on one team to win the ACC regular season title. Who is it?
Virginia.
UVA.
Because they're going
to pick them in the preseason, didn't you?
Yep.
As did I.
That I did.
Yeah, look, it was Virginia. Motivation's the best. And when they missed the NCAA tournament last March, it was the first time in 8 years that they were not included in the field. That has fueled this group. And Tony's team last year was one that was in a retooling mode of trying to figure themselves out. Like if you watch them offensively, last year they were kind of moving in slow motion at times early. But guys, when they went to Duke and beat them, that to me, I've brought it up before, like that was a foreshadowing for what this season could be. And when you look at Reese Beekman and what he did in Vegas. And when you look at what Kihei Clark and Jaden Gardner bring to the table, like Virginia is dangerous because offensively they have different options. There's different ways that they can score the basketball. And when Tony Bennett has that going for him, that's what he had with Kyle Guy and Ty Jerome. That's what he's had when he's had his best teams. He's got that here with this team. I'm with T.O. I'm calling it right now. Carolina's going to lose this week. They're losing one of these games here in the PK. I'm calling it right now. They're not winning the PK title, and next week I'll eat my words if they do. North Carolina, to me, the numbers next to their name for sake of what they did at the end of last year. I want to see them get tested here this week. Don't you? Don't you want to see them get actually tested? We haven't talked about Carolina because guess what? They haven't played anybody.
Yep. They are gonna get tested, and we'll see how that ends up going. For the record, right now,
it'll be in the finals.
Yeah, for the record, right now, North Carolina is plus 125 to win the ACC at Bet Rivers. Duke is plus 200, and Virginia is 4.5 to 1, plus 450.
Go get it now.
So, go get it now while you still can. All right, let's talk about some of these Feast Week tournaments. I want to start with the Maui. The odds right now at Bet Rivers: Arkansas is plus 250, Arizona's plus 250, Creighton is plus 500 to win it. So is Texas Tech. San Diego State sleeper plus 600 to win it. How do you guys see this tournament playing out? What's the matchup you're most looking forward to?
Well, I really want Creighton and Arkansas badly. I think it would be a dream of a matchup. The fact that a top 10 matchup could happen in the semifinals of a Feast Week tournament is downright crazy. I would love to see that game, and I think I'd love to see it because when I look at Arkansas, I see a team that with a lot of new pieces and parts. Ricky Council's been very good for them. I want to see how this freshman class does on this stage. And Creighton knows who they are. Creighton doesn't have much figuring out to do. And I think that when you look at Creighton, guys, get this. Ryan Nembhard, 27 assists on the season to 2 turnovers.
Wow.
Like that's 27 assists to 2 turnovers on the season. That's insanity what he's been able to do. That's my dream matchup in this tournament. I think the winner of that game wins this tournament. However, I will say Arizona's front court to me is a real layer to this tournament. They're getting great production out of Azuolas Tubelis as well as Ballo. That duo, guys, thus far on the year has combined for 37 points and 17 rebounds per game. Arizona's got twin towers inside, and they could play them both. So I'm fascinated by this tournament. I have a gut feeling we're going to get an Arizona-Creighton championship game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Creighton.
That's my dream matchup right there. That's my dream matchup. I was going to bring that up. I would love to see Kalkbrenner against Tubelis. I think that would be a great matchup. And then at that 4 spot, like, are they going to be able to extend out? Is Creighton going to be able to extend out the Arizona's defense a little bit? That would be a great matchup. I think it's hilarious that Louisville is in that tournament because that is not going to bode well for them. Outside of that, guys, I mean, there's some good teams. I would say 2 great teams out of the bunch. Two great teams.
T.O., who would bode better? Louisville or Chaminade?
Here's the thing: is D2's already whooped Louisville. So whenever they lost to Lenoir-Rhyne, I know Chaminade's beating Lenoir-Rhyne. Let's put it that. So transitive property states that
only on the DTF podcast will you ever hear, I know Chaminade's beating Lenoir-Rhyne.
Yeah, Chaminade's beating Lenoir-Rhyne, and they're beating Louisville too. Oof. Yeah, it's funny. There's some Louisville fans down here for the women's battle for Atlantis, and they're just like, yeah, we're just going to give this year a break. Talking about their men's team.
Yeah, I think
so. That's where they're at.
I think Creighton ends up winning it. I think that they're the best team in that tournament. I think that it's I'm all in on Creighton, so I can't lay off now. I think
you know what that means? Do you know what that means? Okay, I'm revealing the news here on the DTF podcast.
Oh boy!
So Big E shoot around for the first time will be heading to Austin next week for a potential other heavyweight clash. If Creighton wins the Maui, that means Creighton, Texas in a top 5 game at the Moody Center.
Ooh. That'll be a great game.
Fanta,
you'll be impressed with that place.
Fanta at the Moody Cellar would be fun. Make sure afterwards you go and find what was it, Don's Diner?
I didn't go. What was the place we went beforehand that had that
Shoal Creek?
Oh,
yeah,
that
was
dude,
really good.
That gumbo. Oh,
don't worry,
it was so good.
I'm bringing my
cow. And listen, this is live breaking news while we're here. The top available prospect in high school basketball just committed to the University of Texas, AJ Johnson. All right, so let's go to the PKs. There's the PK. So for the people that haven't been paying attention, there's the PK85 Legacy, and there's the PK85 Invitational. Let's start with the Legacy one first. We have Duke, Oregon State, Florida Xavier, Purdue, West Virginia, and then Portland State is playing Gonzaga. How do you guys see this one playing out? I think this is going to end up being Gonzaga's to win.
Yeah, I think it is. I'll be intrigued to see if Duke meets Xavier. That's a game that I'd like to see play out because of the fact that I want to see Filipowski and Lively, T.O., go up against Jack Nungy and Zach Fremantle. I think that would be a really interesting game. It's like a unique WWE tag team match. Like we would never get that normally, but Feast Week provides it. And I think, here's the deal. This is a big week for Jeremy Roach. Big week for Jeremy Roach to lead Duke. You know, Duke should make it to the championship game of this event. But guys, Xavier's good. Like they're really good. I think the key with Xavier, they're the team in my mind that we're going to talk about them differently in late February than we do now. I think you're seeing bits and pieces of Sean Miller rub off, but I didn't see the full effect in Friday's game against Indiana.
He got Zach Fremantle on the same page. Like that's the biggest thing is that Zach Fremantle is bought in now. Zach Fremantle is the most talented dude on that roster. Colby Jones being healthy matters, but Zach Fremantle being locked in and playing the way that you need him to play, it completely changes everything. T.O., why are you smirking? You're smirking
just
because
you every time Fanta goes on a rant, you just jump at him.
No. So my dream matchup would be Xavier and Duke because Gonzaga's going to beat Portland, and then who would they meet here on Black Friday? I'm sorry. Who would Gonzaga meet in this event on Black Friday in the semifinals?
Purdue or West Virginia.
That's not going to go well. However, dream individual matchup, like I'm here for Zach Edey versus Drew Timme.
Oh,
right.
That's interesting.
I don't think that would go very well for Zach Edey.
Oh, I think it would go the other way.
I beg to differ. I say advantage Edey.
I would too.
I saw Timme foul out everybody on Michigan State's front line, and then I saw him get Oscar Tshiebwe in all kinds of foul trouble, and I just don't like. How do you? I see Zach Edey getting like 4 fouls in 15 minutes in that game. That's kind of the way that I would see it.
Well, I tend to go the other direction. I think Edey doesn't have to do much. He can just play vertical, and there's no going up. He doesn't have to go after anything. He's 7'5". I think Edey would struggle. That's the one matchup I think Edey would struggle.
Legit 7'5" By the way, Braden Smith, impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Impressive against Marquette. I mean, Painter, guys, quick aside, in the last week, Matt Painter and Fran McCaffrey have showed us how valuable they are in the Big Ten, down or not, or whatever T.O.'s saying. Like, Purdue lost Jaden Ivey, and their guard play, they figure it out. And Iowa, who's ranked today, deserves to be ranked. Chris Murray has taken the keys to that car, and he's running with it, and they got dudes. They have experience. I like the big kid that they brought in as well, Philip Rabracha. There's two coaches in McCaffrey and Painter who have reminded us just how good they are. But Gonzaga Duke in the final, and I'm going to go contrarian here.
You got Duke?
Duke wins.
Yeah, T.O., what do you got?
Duke can throw bodies at you. I don't think they beat Gonzaga just because of the Timme effect, and he's playing against young dudes. Duke has dudes. Duke has young dudes.
I know.
The only way that goes the other direction if they put one of that. What's the old kid's name that transferred from Northwestern?
Ryan Young.
Ryan Young. If they put him and just say, "Hey, play vertical," and then we need our young guys to come and block over the second side, like that's the only way I could see that happening. But if he gets matched up against one of these freshmen, forget it. He's going to eat those guys alive. So I would go Gonzaga in that one. Purdue, West Virginia. Go ahead and put me with Purdue. That Zach Edey-Timmy matchup, I'm really intrigued by. I like the young bigs against Xavier. And so Duke's young bigs against Xavier. That'll be an interesting matchup. That'll show Xavier's mettle a little bit. That'll also be a big win over Florida if they're able to attain that one.
So can I just tell you guys that we need to keep an eye on West Virginia here. A lot of people are overlooking the fact that Huggins has a team that he likes, and when Huggins has a team that he likes, like that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing it though.
Over Purdue, over an ultra disciplined Purdue team.
So the reason why I say that is you have a team that's going to throw waves of bodies at you, that wants to press, that wants to try to force turnovers, and you're going up against a team in Purdue that has a freshman point guard, right? Like, I know there's a lot of new faces on West Virginia, but they start a senior in Joe Toussaint. They start a fifth-year senior in Eric Stevenson. Kedrian Johnson is fifth-year senior. Like, they have a lot of really good, tough guards that are going to guard you for 94 feet. And has Braden Smith or Fletcher Lawyer ever seen that? It might be kind of situation where, anytime Zach Edey gets the ball in the paint, they're not going to know what to do with him, but how are they going to get the ball to him?
Yeah.
I think that's a tough matchup. And I think that West Virginia would give Gonzaga problems too, for a lot of the same reasons. I don't think they have the talent.
Guys, we need to hurry because my battery's running dead on my computer.
All right. So Gonzaga and Duke. The PK Invitational. Tell me why UConn's not winning that. Fanta already got me bought in, baby. Fanta just called UConn the best team in the Big East. He just basically convinced me they're winning a national title. So tell me why.
I think the fact that Michigan State can throw some different bigs at them, and early in the season, the Big Ten teams are going to be good. So I think Michigan could beat UConn. So Michigan State, rather. So, and Michigan State's playing well. They're playing without young people. Alabama's relying on young people. I think you get a North Carolina, Michigan State finals. And all of it depends on what I think North Carolina's talent ends up winning that thing.
So wait a minute here for a moment here. If we get Michigan State and North Carolina, do you know what that means? That means that we get the forever rare. If Michigan State meets North Carolina in the final, I believe that would mean that if you have Villanova beating Iowa State and you have UConn beating Oregon, the forever rare conference matchup that does not count.
Mm-hmm.
You could get Villanova, UConn, and Portland.
Yeah, and for people to explain why that's happening, Fanta.
So that is happening because UConn committed to the PK85 when they were still in the American.
Mm-hmm.
This happened when the Big East went through realignment back in 2013. Georgetown met Butler in an MTE. So this is happening because three teams are committed. It was Xavier and Villanova, and they would each go one side. Phil Knight's birthday, this is a special invitation only. It's coming every 5 years. So UConn was invited, but they were invited when they were the American. They're not getting out of it. So they've tried to separate Villanova and UConn as much as they could, being in the same bracket, but the two could still meet because it's a bracketed event. It's just how it goes. So we could get that. We could get that game, which would be very rare and different. It would not count in the conference standings, folks. For those of you wondering if it would count, it would not count in the conference standings.
I'd much rather get UConn, North Carolina in the finals of that. What's going to be really interesting to me in this, and then we can move on to the battle for Atlantis. But I think it's going to be really interesting to see whether or not North Carolina shows up and play. Like, the one thing it feels like that's been happening with them is that they've been kind of playing down to the opponent, right? It's kind of like, we just made it to the Final Four. We ended Coach K. We did this in Cameron Indoor, blah, 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 blah. And now we got to play Charleston and UNC Wilmington. Like, what am I doing here? So I think we're going to learn a lot about North Carolina, like if they show up and decide, because they've been like turning it on and off. I don't know how much you've watched their first 4 games. They've been turning it on and off. For the record, Right now, UConn is plus 700 to win the Phil Knight Invitational. Oregon is plus 600. I'm just putting that in the atmosphere. I'm just putting that out there into the existence that the team that lost by 30 to UC Davis is considered to be favored over UConn tomorrow. So
I don't think there'll be a Big East matchup. I think Iowa State's going to beat Villanova.
I don't necessarily disagree with that either. Yeah. I'm just hoping that UConn gets Oregon, because if they don't, you may have to put me on suicide watch. All right, Battle for Atlantis, Kansas. Bill Self's back. We got any takes there? I was really hoping to get excited about a Kansas Tennessee matchup here, but it kind of feels like Kansas is going to roll through everybody in this.
It seems like it. Now, this is a great way for NC State to show, like, hey, we're truly somebody to look out for in the ACC, because they've been down for a couple of years. But if they're able to compete with Kansas, there's no such thing as moral victories. There's a semi-moral victory if they're able to keep it close. So I would give that there. Dayton, Wisconsin, is that really going to move the needle for me? Not necessarily. Southern Cal and BYU, again, not all that exciting, but it's going to be good basketball regardless. But Tennessee, Butler should have won that game. Who'd they play the other day? Was it Penn State?
Yep.
Like I thought Butler was a better team. Penn State has been shooting out of their mind. Are they going to be able to sustain that? I don't know, but I still like that Butler team. It's just, yeah, like, there's going to be good games, of course. I hate that NC State's got Kansas in round one, but that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But I think Kansas ends up winning this tournament.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I do too. I'm interested to see what Tennessee does this week, just by virtue of how they've come out. They've been the strangest team in the sport. So what do they look like now in the battle for Atlantis? Which version of them do we see? Doesn't BYU, USC come off as a game that could be played in Dayton, Ohio in the first four? Like, BYU, USC to me is going to be interesting. I'm interested to learn more about Mark Pope's team. I mean, you got Fusini Traore, who is averaging nearly 13 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, great length. They've got Spencer Johnson, Gideon George. Like, BYU's got some players, Rob, and they've got some balance on the offensive end of the floor. USC, to me, like,
where did T.O. go?
I think he was checking in with – I think he either went to the restroom.
He lost T.O.
Get a cocktail. I think he's plugging in. He's plugging his computer in. USC, to me, like, I don't know what to make of USC at all. So that's an opportunity for them against BYU. If USC could meet Tennessee, who knows? Because I thought highly of Boogie Ellis coming in the season and Peterson. Like, I thought USC could be a solid team, guys. At least like a top 40 team. Are they that? I don't know. I don't know.
They lost their 5-star because of the heart thing at the start of the season, so it's going to be kind of tough for them. But you said it's going to be a first 4 matchup. USC's got to do a little bit to prove to me that they're going to be able to get into the first 4, because based on what has happened at the bottom of the Pac-12, like that league makes the ACC look like it's going to be a gauntlet. So, with that in mind, we've been here for long enough. We've been here for almost an hour and 15 minutes. T.O. just wants to get to the beach. He wants to get that beautiful ball dome tanned just a little bit, get it going a little bit.
It's raining outside. And guys, I'm sorry if I seem a little irritated. You guys were like going in and out, and I was getting irritated with my computer. And then all of a sudden, like, it would just cut out. So I'm sorry if I seem like
well, look, there were about 3 times where it froze on us too, man. So listen, I appreciate you guys being here. T.O., thank you for taking time away from your family to talk with us. That's always an ideal. So the next time we'll talk to you guys, it's going to be Thanksgiving, baby. Next time we talk to you guys, we're going to have a little bit more to get through. There's a lot of games this weekend. So for John Fanta, for Terrence Oglesby, my name is Rob Doster. We'll see you guys again Monday.